With his arms leisurely folded, Zhu Zhang remained silent as Lan Xinqing nodded seriously. Yes, Commander, they disappeared. We tried to contact them but got no response. Even when using satellites to scan the entire Tianhai city, there was no signs of a large convoy. Zhu Zheng's expression became more and more strange. What are they up to? Are they planning to incite a rebellion? You see, when a faction from any city dared not to respond to the call from the Jiangnan region, it's considered as an act of provocation, a sort of disrespect against the headquarters of the region. However, since the mutant organizations in any city, as in this case, Day City, is not stupid and their disappearance from the grid is suspicious to draw Zhu Zheng's attention, he suddenly asked Lan Xinqing if she contacted the local forces in Tianhai City. When Lan Xinqing heard this question, she was slightly startled with what Zhu Zhang was getting at. And it wasn't due to any concern she may have for the forces in Tianhai City, but simply due to the fact that she believes it was completely impossible. Even if there was a war, at least traces of the battlefield could have been seen on the map. But that's not the case. However, Lan Xinqing hesitated for a second before continuing. The forces in Tianhai City are already very weak, so they shouldn't have the strength to completely wipe out the mutant alliance in Day City, right? In fact, there was no abnormal movement in Tianhai City. Almost all the combat power of the three major factions in Day City disappeared. This strange phenomenon made Zhu Zhang, who had a keen instinct and a knack for sensing something wrong, feel unease. Unexpectedly, the face of the young man with an indifferent expression suddenly appeared in his mind. For some reason, Zhu Zhang felt that Zhang Yi must have known about this matter. He immediately ordered Lan Xinqing to call Zhang Yi. I want to talk to him. Lan Xinqing hurriedly agreed, took out a black satellite phone, found Zhang Yi's contact information from it, and dialed it without a second to spare. Meanwhile, at this time inside the shelter, Zhang Yi was on his bed in his room, leisurely relaxed and composed. He had actually been waiting patiently for the Jiangnan district to contact him. And after such a big incident, it's obvious the people from the Jiangnan region to call and express their decision on the matter regardless of the circumstance. But Zhang Yi knew it was just a process to go through in order to save face as usual. Anyway, the matter has been settled, and they were the invaders, so there shouldn't be a problem. Coincidentally, a strange call came through. Zhang Yi answered the phone call without hesitation, greeting the person on the other end of the line politely. Hello, this is Zhang Yi. Lan Xinqing quickly introduced herself and stated that Commander Zhu Zhang of Blizzard City wanted to have a word with him. The moment Zhang Yi heard Zhu Zhang's voice on the other end of the line seconds later, his voice became much more enthusiastic. Commander Zhu Zhang, long time no see. Although it has only been 3 days since the last meeting, your heroic and strong image has always been deeply engraved in my mind. Zhu Zhang raised a barely perceptible smile at the corner of his mouth, realizing that Zhang Yi was feigning an ass-kissing right from the get-go. After all, no one will be unhappy when being flattered. And although some people can hide it better, the key is to see who is the one flattering. In Zhu Zhang's eyes, Zhang Yi is at least a talented person with good strength, so he was a bit pleased to be flattered by him. Okay, stop flattering me. It's useless to me. Anyway, I'd like to know if there has been any trouble in your Tianhai City again. Zhang Yi had already prepared his words, so he was absolutely confident on this matter. The destruction of the mutant alliance in Day City was impossible to conceal, and he dared not underestimate the intelligence system of the Jiangnan region. The three major factions in Day City intended to occupy the territory and resources of Tianhai City. They ignored our strong protests and directly sent a large army to attack. In the end, under the tenacious resistance of all the mutants in Tianhai City, they were all destroyed here. We followed the original intentions of defending our homeland and the basic principles you issued at the founding meeting of the Jiangnan Superpower Federation, and had taken reasonable, legal, and compliant actions, resolutely block all invading enemies. We have achieved the high standards and strict requirements of being able to fight, knowing how to fight, and winning battles. Zhu Zhang's head was dizzy after hearing this. Stop. Where did you learn so many twists and turns? So, the mutants in Day City were really destroyed by you? Zhang Yi nodded slightly. That's right. I have evidence that they took the initiative to invade us. I will send it to the region immediately, so please ask the leaders to judge for us. To be honest, Zhu Zhang didn't care about these. And judging from the trajectory of the actions taken, the invasion of Tianhai City by the Mutant Alliance of Day City was an indisputable fact. This was like a louse on a bald head, an obvious thing. But what Zhu Zhang failed to understand was how Tianhai City managed to accomplish this complete wipeout so cleanly. Nearly 1,000 people, including many powerful mutants, were completely annihilated. They didn't even find any traces of the battlefield. How did you do it? The three major mutant organizations in Days City were not weak. Zhu Zhang asked curiously. Zhang Yi laughed slightly. Commander Zhu Zhang, we all have our secrets which are the foundation of our survival. Please forgive me for not revealing them. After all, you are also aware of the current situation in Tianhai City, so we need every means to save our lives. Zhu Zhang raised his eyebrows. Oh? So you intend on keeping it a secret from us too? Zhang Yi politely insisted. Please forgive us. We dare not take any risks, and this is not disrespectful to you. Zhu Zhang was silent for a moment and nodded. Okay, fine. I was just very curious after all. The smile on Zhang Yi's mouth became stronger. In an indirect manner, Zhu Zhang was reminding Zhang Yi that he would investigate this matter. But Zhang Yi also knew that Zhu Zhang would not be able to find anything in a short time, because no one can imagine that there is a mutant of Zhang Yi's level in Tianhai City. You see, in the eyes of the people in the Jiangnan district, only they can cultivate top mutants. Even if the mutants in the outer cities have a high level of ability, compared to the Jiangnan region, they are far inferior to Blizzard City in comprehensive aspects. For some reason, Zhu Zhang suddenly had an idea. He told Zhang Yi to come to Blizzard City in the next 2 days. There was something he needed him to do. Zhang Yi's smile froze on his face. Go there again? But I really don't want to. Well, Commander, it's just that. Well, we just finished the battle, and we still have a lot of things to do. A smile flashed in Zhu Zhang's eyes. He told Zhang Yi that he could come alone to Blizzard City at any time he chooses within the next 2 days. Zhu Zhang felt more and more that he had underestimated Zhang Yi at the beginning. Coupled with the many secrets he must be hiding, Zhang Yi should be taken along in this Linhai City mission. After all, Zhang Yi was very good at defense and has the strength of an elite investigation team member. Letting him join the operation will definitely help. On the other end of the line, Zhang Yi rubbed his forehead. He really hated these troubles so much. Why can't everyone just let him be? Commander, can I ask what exactly is the reason for asking me to come to Blizzard City? Zhang Yi naturally had to go, but he also had to know what it was so that he could be prepared. Zhu Zhang exhaled deeply and spoke honestly in a deep voice. The first batch of mutant organizations sent to Linhai City were all wiped out. What? How could this happen? Zhang Yi couldn't help but blurt out. Those are 10 powerful mutant organizations. None of the mutant organizations that dared to go to Linhai City was weak. And although Zhang Yi knew that Linhai City was in danger, he could not imagine that they would all be defeated in less than 3 days. Is the strength of this organization really that strong? Zhu Zhang continued in his usual tone. Next time, we will form a stronger team to deal with those Ronin. It will be led by an investigation team, and you will be responsible for assisting. Zhang Yi took a deep breath, and then replied with a firm look. I understand. I will rush over as quickly as possible. There was no need to think about this matter. The Ronin organization from Japan must be eradicated from their land. Otherwise, everyone in the entire Jiangnan region will not only lose face, but will also be seen as weak. Zhang Yi may be cautious, but he still has the most basic sense of honor. He didn't go before because he knew the primary objective of the Jiangnan region then was to get more information on the Eclipse group. But now, the severity of the problem was beyond his imagination. So he must go there and contribute his own strength. Zhang Yi decided to go to Blizzard City without much hesitation. If his strength was needed in this matter, he would not stay out of it as long as it ensured his own safety by proxy. At the very least, he would feel at ease knowing that those Ronin had been completely eliminated. Otherwise, from now on, there would be no peace on this land. With the first batch, there would definitely be a second and third batch. As long as a gap is opened, the surrounding forces that were eyeing and coveting the resources of the continent will swarm in like locusts. Whether considering the greater good or starting from his own interests, he had to go. Zhu Zhang did not ask Zhang Yi to bring all the elites of Tianhai City. After all, each city also needs to leave some forces for defense. But after thinking about it, Zhang Yi decided to bring a few people, for safety reasons. In case of any situation, it is more convenient for his own people to use. So he called everyone in the shelter to gather in the lounging room. The moment Zhang Yi came to the meeting area, everyone was already waiting. Liang Yu was the first to speak up as Zhang Yi took a seat, asking what had happened. He casually replied her as Zhou Qir served him a glass of hot water. The 10 mutant organizations sent to destroy the Eclipse group have been completely wiped out. Now the Jiangnan district has summoned me, and I plan to take 2 people along. Zhang Yi pointed at Liang Yu, indicating that she was the first pick of the 2. No one was surprised by this. After all, in the shelter, Liang Yu was the second most powerful fighter after Zhang Yi. Although her ability was just an ordinary strengthening type system, she was a powerful martial arts master, so her combat effectiveness was excellent. Just when everyone was thinking about who would be the second candidate, Zhang Yi grabbed and hugged his most trusted bodyguard, Flower. So the second candidate, of course, was Flower. This was unexpected but reasonable. After all, Flower's combat effectiveness was probably not much different from Liang Yu. Uncle Yu frowned and pointed at himself. Zhang Yi, what about us? Are you going to leave us behind and face the danger alone this time? This is about the honor of our country. As a veteran, I can't just sit back and watch. After a slight hesitation, Chunlei clenched his fist and added, we have faced all kinds of problems together in the past, and we hope to help you this time too. Zhang Yi stroked Flower's soft fur, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. Your intentions are good, but this is a war, not a game of brotherhood. You know, the strength of each of the 10 mutant organizations sent in the first round was not much different from the base forces in Tianhai City, and their leaders are all Delta-level mutants. Even with such a large team, they were all killed by the Eclipse group. Do you think you would not become cannon fodder if you get there? Zhang Yi's eyes calmly swept over Uncle Yu and Chunlei, and at this time, Uncle Yu's expression was a little bleak. His ability level was only at the third of the gamma level, and in the past battles, he was mostly just a meat shield if he's being honest with himself, whereas Zhang Yi's strength grew rapidly alongside with Liang Yu and Flower. Although theirs were not as rapid as Zhang Yi's, they still became stronger by devouring other mutants. And all this in turn made his role in the team become smaller and smaller. The same could be said about Chunlei, however. He didn't care about the honor of fighting for his country, so he was fine with not going. Uncle Yu felt a little guilty about this. Forget it, boss, he murmured slightly. If you don't intend to let me tag along, I won't do so. Zhang Yi noticed Uncle Yu's disappointment, thought about it, and changed his words. This time, he said, we are just going there to understand the situation in Linhai City. If we need help at that time, I will contact you and let you come there. Of course, these were just words to comfort Uncle Yu. But the same couldn't be said about the mutant leaders in the 3 major bases. However, if it is not necessary, he still wants them to guard Tianhai City while he's away. Anyhow, Uncle Yu's eyes light up when he heard Zhang Yi's remark. Well then, he said, you must remember to call me over when the time comes. Zhang Yi smiled slightly and replied, definitely. By the way, please notify the other bases. I need to rush over there and can't inform them. At this moment, Zhou Qier frowned her beautiful eyebrows with a worried look on her face. Why do I feel that this operation will be very dangerous? Are the opponents this time that formidable? Aren't there only 13 of them? Zhang Yi shook his head silently. I don't have any information about them, so naturally there is no way to talk about it. But I believe that after the recent battle, the Jiangnan district must have collected their information. So when the time comes, we will know. On the other hand, Yang Min, who had been sitting on the other side next to Zhang Yi, hugged his arm tightly, her soft body pressed against him. She also expressed her worry in a soft and coquettish manner. We are going to war again, and I'm really worried that something might happen to you. Zhang Yi smiled slightly, stretched out his hand to hold her soft waist, and felt her beautiful figure. Don't worry, I know what to do. This time the Jiangnan region is the leader, and the investigation team is the main force. So we will just be playing a supporting role. I, Zhang Yi, have a life principle. If I am rich, I will help the world. If I am poor, I will take care of myself. When the time comes, I will act on the premise of protecting myself, and I will not be a hero. Hearing this, Yang Min was a little reassured. After a brief explanation, Zhang Yi got up and planned to set off immediately. He later informed Lan Xinqing about the time of his arrival, so the special train from Blizzard City would come to pick him up. Early the next day, the two, fully armed, and together with Flower, left the shelter. Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi's profile and was a little hesitant to speak. Her abnormality was obvious and Zhang Yi naturally noticed. So before they set off, he calmly asked her, if there's anything you'll like to say, just tell me. Hearing this, Liang Yu frowned slightly and asked without any delay, Zhang Yi, if one day we are no longer valuable to you, will you abandon us? Liang Yu's question was not without reason. This time, Zhang Yi only took her and Flower to Blizzard City, but refused to take Uncle Yu and the others. Although Zhou Qier, Yang Min, and Lu Karen were easy to understand because they were auxiliary mutants after all. The same couldn't be said about Uncle Yu and Chunlei. They were both combat mutants, and Zhang Yi didn't take them along for one primary reason. Thus, their combat power was not enough in the upcoming battle. This inevitably made Liang Yu, who was also a member of the team, feel a little worried. After listening to Liang Yu's question, Zhang Yi showed a meaningful smile at the corner of his mouth as the two got in the car. Zhang Yi did not directly answer Liang Yu's question, but asked a question instead. Teacher Liang, do you think I am the kind of person who is eager to build a strong force and continuously develop my own team? Liang Yu blinked. Isn't that the case? Zhang Yi glanced at Liang Yu and answered decisively. Of course not. In the past months after the end of the world, it seems that the size of our team had grew poorly. But I have never planned to create a large force to dominate the world to the best of my capabilities. Don't forget that I can now integrate all the forces in Tianhai City at any time. But have you seen me do it? Liang Yu showed a thoughtful look. Not only did you not do it, but it also seems you really have no intention of doing so. Even though Zhang Yi took the people from the 3 major bases as his subordinates, he never had any intention of managing them. This was indeed not what an ambitious person should do. Zhang Yi continued calmly. When the end of the world first came, I kept gathering talents because I needed to protect myself, and everyone could only survive better if they clung together. At that time, I selected the players for my own benefit, but now that the most difficult years have passed, and the relationship between you and I are no longer just one of mutual benefit. Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu, and his eyes became gentle. We are a family now. How can a family member dislike someone who is less useful due to their smaller role? Even if you can't do anything, as long as you can accompany me, that's enough. Zhang Yi's eyes were full of sincerity, which made Liang Yu, who had some grudges in her heart, feel relieved. Liang Yu sat in the co-pilot seat, with flour lying on her long legs that were just right. She smiled awkwardly, agreeing with Zhang Yi's words. That's good. In fact, I have long regarded everyone as my own family. I hope we can all live well in this apocalypse. Zhang Yi nodded slightly with a sheepish smile. That's right. So you are not allowed to have such thoughts in the future. How can a family doubt each other? Liang Yu lowered her head, a little embarrassed. I was thinking too much. Sorry. Zhang Yi thought to himself, I am not a devil. In essence, Zhang Yi thinks he is just an ordinary person. He is not very kind, nor does he have too many evil aspects. All he wants is to survive in peace during the end of the world. It would be even better if there were a group of companions who could give him warmth. People always need a little spiritual comfort. Therefore, even if Uncle Yu and Chunlei could not help Zhang Yi during battles in the future, his superficial attitude towards them would not change. Having a group of trustworthy people to accompany you was already precious in the end of the world. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu came to the Zaimaishan subway station. He put away his car, went to the platform, and waited for the special train to pick him up. The patent arrived on the agreed time, and the female attendant was still the familiar robot. This time, since there was no need to pick up people in other cities, it took less than 2 hours to reach Blizzard City. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu got off the special train, and Flower squatted on Zhang Yi's shoulder as usual. The platform was quiet, with only a few soldiers guarding it with guns. But Zhang Yi met a few old friends. The current captain of the Black Robe investigation team, Bailey Changqing, and old acquaintances Wu Di and Meng Xiu. The 3 of them were all dressed in their usual combat uniforms. After seeing Zhang Yi, Bailey Changqing and Meng Xiu both had smiles on their faces. Although Wu Di still looked arrogant, his eyes still revealed a hint of respect when he looked at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi, welcome to Blizzard City. You've come at the perfect time. Bailey Changqing walked over with a big laugh and gave Zhang Yi a bear hug. A bit taken aback, Zhang Yi asked curiously, why are you here? The captain of one of the 6 major investigation teams actually came to greet Zhang Yi in person. This was more or less strange, although they were old acquaintance. When did he become so famous? Bailey Changqing let go of Zhang Yi and replied with a smile. Zhu Zheng asked me to come and pick you up. To be honest, I am a little surprised that you agreed to join this operation. Zhang Yi understood that it must be the fact that he had eliminated the Mutant Alliance in Days City that attracted Zhu Zheng's attention. After hearing Bailey Changqing's words, Zhang Yi just smiled calmly. Do you think it's possible for me to refuse? Bailey Changqing's smile became even stronger. That's different. Zhu Zheng said that you were very cooperative this time and immediately agreed to come to Blizzard City. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. This isn't a strange thing, right? Even though I may not look like it, I can't stay out of the situation when facing foreign enemies, right? Zhang Yi was not stupid. Bailey Changqing nodded approvingly with a sigh. You are right. This trouble is indeed more serious than we imagined. Speaking of this, Zhang Yi's face became serious. What is going on? Is the Eclipse group that strong? They really were able to wipe out 10 mutant troops just like that? Bailey Changqing replied in a deep voice. It's much more serious than you can imagine. Not to mention you, even Zhu Zheng was shocked when he heard what happened at that time. The power of the eclipse moon reveals a sense of weirdness. They're just a strange bunch. Do you know how long it took them to deal with those 10 mutant troops? Zhang Yi stared at him curiously. How long? 1 hour. Bailey Changqing said word by word. What? Zhang Yi was shocked. 1 hour? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Even if Bien Junwoo led all the members of the Black Robe Squad, it would be impossible to do it in his prime, because there are too many uncertainties in war. When you don't know the enemy, you need to carefully test and reasonably allocate troops to fight. If this battle is a fight between the Black Robe Squad and the 10 mutant teams, Zhang Yi guessed that it would take approximately 10 days. Even when Bien Junwoo were to use Nirvana, the outcome wouldn't be significantly reduced from 10 days. After all, when a person's abilities are exposed, others will naturally take corresponding measures to deal with it. Anyway, at this moment, Bailey Chongqing quickly covered Zhang Yi's mouth with a hand. He needed to keep his voice down in the open. Let's talk while we walk. In fact, let's go to the bar and have a good chat. Hearing this, Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and asked curiously, shouldn't you take me directly to see Zhu Zhang? Inwardly, Zhang Yi thought that if Zhu Zhang asked Bailey Chongqing to pick him up, but Bailey Chongqing was rather taking him out for a drink, then it means that there was something extremely wrong.